Hi, I'm Gianna. I never imagined my quiet Thursday afternoon would turn into something straight out of a crime drama. My 6-year-old daughter Lily and I were baking chocolate chip cookies when the doorbell rang, followed by aggressive pounding. "Mommy, who's at the door?" Lily asked, her small hands covered in cookie dough. "I don't know, sweetheart. Why don't you keep mixing while I check?" I wiped my hands on my apron and headed to the door. Through the peephole, I saw my father-in-law Richard standing on my porch with two men I didn't recognize. The strangers had visible bulges under their jackets. Guns. My heart raced as I grabbed my phone from my pocket. "Gianna, open this door right now!" Richard shouted, pounding again. I dialed my neighbor, Maya. "Hey, I need help. Richard's here with armed men. Can you come get Lily through the back door and call the police?" "Armed men? Are you serious?" Maya's voice shot up an octave. "Dead serious. Please hurry." I turned to Lily. "Honey, Aunt Maya is coming to take you to her house for a play date with Emma. Go wash your hands, okay?" "But the cookies?" "We'll finish them later. Promise." After Lily headed to the bathroom, I cracked open the door with the chain still on. "Richard, what are you doing here?" His face was flushed with anger. "Where's my granddaughter? I'm taking her home with me." "That's not happening. You need to leave." One of the men stepped forward. "Ma'am, we're here to ensure the child's safe transfer to her grandfather." "Who are you? You have no right to be here." Richard shoved a document against the gap in the door. "This gives me temporary guardianship. Your drug problem makes you unfit." My blood froze. "Drug problem? That's a complete lie." "We have sworn statements," the second man said. "We're here to execute this order." "That paper isn't even notarized," I said, examining it through the crack. "And I've never touched drugs in my life. The police are on their way." Richard's expression darkened. "Don't make this difficult. After what happened to David, Lily needs proper care." The mention of my late husband sent anger rushing through me. "Don't you dare use David's death to justify this." "Mrs. Turner," the first man said, "we can do this peacefully or what? You'll break into my house? Threaten me with guns? That'll look great in court." I heard Maya's voice from the kitchen. "Lily's safe with me." Richard must have heard too. He started shouting, "You can't keep her from me. I have rights." "Rights?" I laughed bitterly. "You show up at my door with armed thugs and fake papers? Get off my property before you're arrested." The sound of sirens in the distance seemed to unnerve Richard's companions. One whispered something in his ear. "This isn't over," Richard hissed. "Lily belongs with family who can actually take care of her. I am her family, her only legal guardian, and unlike you, I don't need to resort to intimidation and lies." The police cruiser pulled up, and Officers Chen and Rodriguez approached cautiously. "What's going on here?" Officer Chen asked, hand resting on his holster. "These men are trespassing," I said. "And they're armed." Officer Rodriguez immediately ordered the men to put their hands up, while Chen questioned Richard. "She's keeping my granddaughter from me," Richard protested. "I have papers." "Papers that appear to be fraudulent," I interrupted. "And he brought armed men to try to take my daughter by force." As the officers separated everyone for questioning, I watched Richard's face. For the first time in years, I saw something there besides contempt. Fear. And that's when I knew. This wasn't over, but I finally had the upper hand. "So he just showed up? With guns?" My lawyer, Vanessa, leaned forward in her office chair, her expression a mix of shock and professional interest. "Two men with concealed weapons," I confirmed, clutching my coffee cup. "He had some fake guardianship document claiming I'm a drug addict." Vanessa's pencil tapped against her legal pad. "That's a serious accusation. Any idea where it came from?" "None. I don't even drink more than a glass of wine occasionally since David died." "Speaking of David," Vanessa said carefully, "could this be related to the insurance money?" I hadn't considered that angle. David's life insurance policy had paid out substantially 6 months ago. "You think Richard wants control of Lily to access that money?" "It's worth looking into. Has Richard been having financial problems?" The door opened and my brother-in-law Marcus walked in, looking harried. "Sorry I'm late. Traffic was insane." "Thanks for coming," I said. We were just discussing why your father might suddenly want custody of Lily. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. Dad's company is failing. He's been borrowing money from everyone. Including you? Vanessa asked sharply. 50,000 last month, Marcus admitted. He said it was temporary. I felt sick. So this is about money? He terrorized us for money? It might not be that simple, Marcus defended weakly. Dad really does think you're not coping well as a single mother. That's ridiculous, I snapped. Lily is thriving. Her teachers say she's adjusted remarkably well considering she lost her father last year. I know. But Dad's convinced himself you're unstable. He's been talking to some sketchy lawyer who convinced him he could get emergency custody. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. What lawyer? Guy named Westfield. Works out of a strip mall on Briarwood. Vanessa smiled grimly. Jerome Westfield. He's been sanctioned twice for filing fraudulent documents. So what do we do? I asked. First, we file for a restraining order, Vanessa said. Then we counter with harassment charges and attempted kidnapping. Kidnapping? Marcus looked alarmed. Isn't that extreme? Showing up with armed men to take a child using fraudulent documents? What would you call it? Marcus rubbed his face. Dad will lose his mind if you press charges. He should have thought about that before bringing guns to my door, I said coldly. Gianna, he's still Lily's grandfather, Marcus pleaded. Maybe we can work something out. Work something out? My voice rose. He tried to steal my daughter using hired thugs and fake accusations that I'm a drug addict. There's no working this out. But he's family. So is David. I cut him off. And your father has dishonored his memory with this stunt. Vanessa intervened. Marcus, I understand your position, but what Richard did wasn't just morally wrong, it was criminal. Multiple felonies. My phone buzzed with a text from Maya. Police at Richard's house now. Executing search warrant. I showed the message to Vanessa, who nodded with satisfaction. The officers took this seriously. Good. What will they find? Marcus asked nervously. I don't know, I replied. But I'm guessing Richard didn't come up with this plan alone. He didn't, a new voice said. We all turned to see Officer Chen at the door. We found quite the paper trail at your father-in-law's house, he continued, including correspondence with Westfield about creating false evidence for a custody case. Marcus paled. Oh, God. There's more, Chen added. The 2 men with him? Private security with expired licenses? Illegally carrying weapons across state lines? Vanessa looked at me meaningfully. Federal charges. As the implications sank in, I felt a strange mix of vindication and sadness. Richard had tried to destroy me to get what he wanted. Now I would use the truth to destroy him instead. The county courthouse bustled with activity as I sat beside Vanessa, watching Richard and his lawyer enter. His face had aged years in the weeks since his failed attempt to take Lily. Remember, Vanessa whispered, let me do most of the talking. The restraining order is practically guaranteed, but we want the criminal charges to stick too. Richard approached our table before the hearing. Gianna, can we speak privately? Absolutely not, Vanessa interjected. Any communication needs to go through me. This is family business, Richard insisted, his voice dropping. 5 minutes, Gianna. That's all I ask. Against my better judgment, I nodded. 5 minutes, in the hall, where security can see us. Vanessa frowned but didn't stop me as I followed Richard to a bench near the bailiff station. You've made your point, Richard began without preamble. I made a terrible mistake. A mistake? I echoed incredulously. You falsified documents. You hired armed men. You tried to kidnap my daughter. I was desperate, he hissed. You've been keeping her from me since David died. I've never denied your visitation. You chose not to use it. Because you always had conditions, always watching me like I couldn't be trusted with my own granddaughter. I leaned forward. And look how that turned out. Were the guns really necessary, Richard? His face flushed. They weren't supposed to bring weapons. That wasn't the plan. What exactly was the plan? To traumatize Lily by ripping her away from her mother? To save her? Richard's control slipped. David would never have wanted her raised by you alone. You're not even really family. The words stung despite their absurdity. I'm her mother. I carried her for 9 months. I've been there for every nightmare, every scraped knee, every school project, and I'm all she has left of her father's family, Richard countered. Of David? No, you're not. She has Marcus, who, unlike you, respects boundaries. Richard's eyes narrowed. Marcus has chosen his side, I see. This isn't about sides. It's about what's best for Lily. And you think having her grandfather in prison is what's best? His voice turned pleading. Gianna, if you drop the charges, I'll withdraw completely. You'll never hear from me again. I stared at him, amazed by his audacity. You think that's a solution? Abandoning her? I'm trying to compromise. No, you're trying to escape consequences. I stood up. You didn't think about what was best for Lily when you created this nightmare. You thought about yourself. I made a mistake, Richard repeated, his voice cracking. I'm sorry, truly sorry. For a moment, I almost felt pity. Almost. Your apology means nothing to me, I said quietly. If you were really sorry, you'd take responsibility. Instead, you're bargaining. Please, Richard grabbed my arm. Don't do this to me. I've lost everything. My son, my business is failing, and now my reputation. I pulled away. You did this to yourself, and now you'll face the consequences. What do you want from me? His voice rose desperately. Money? I'll sign over everything I have left. Name your price. The bailiff glanced our way, and I lowered my voice to a dangerous whisper. I want justice, Richard. And I want Lily to see that no one, not even family, has the right to try to control her life through lies and intimidation. You vindictive bitch, he spat, mask finally dropping completely. You've turned my own son against me. Now you want to destroy me entirely? There it is, I said calmly. The real Richard Turner. Thank you for showing the court who you really are. Richard followed my gaze to where Marcus stood nearby, having heard everything. Security officers approached as Richard's face contorted with rage. This isn't over, he shouted. You can't keep my granddaughter from me forever. As security led him away, Vanessa joined me. Well, that outburst just made our case even stronger. Marcus looked shell-shocked. I had no idea he was so manipulative, entitled, I suggested. Broken, Marcus finished sadly. He's completely broken. Maybe, I conceded. But that doesn't excuse what he did. As we returned to the courtroom, I felt strangely calm. For the first time since this nightmare began, I knew with absolute certainty that I was doing the right thing, not just for me, but for Lily. All rise, the bailiff announced as Judge Watkins entered the courtroom. 3 months of legal proceedings had led to this moment. Richard, looking frail in his navy suit, stood to receive his sentence. Mr. Turner, Judge Watkins began, for filing fraudulent legal documents, harassment, and conspiracy to commit custodial interference, I sentence you to 18 months in prison, followed by 3 years probation. Additionally, you are prohibited from any contact with Gianna or Lily Turner for 5 years. After court adjourned, Marcus approached me in the hallway. Dad wants to talk to you one last time before they take him. Why would I do that? Closure, maybe, for both of you? Against my better judgment, I agreed to a supervised meeting. Richard sat at the table, a deputy nearby. Gianna, thank you for coming. Marcus said you wanted to talk. I wanted to apologize properly. What I did was unforgivable. Yes, it was. I was terrified of losing my last connection to David. His eyes pleaded for understanding. You had that connection, I replied. You chose to try to take it by force. When I get out, Richard ventured. Do you think there's any chance? No. I cut him off firmly. There isn't. You traumatized us. You lied about me. Some things can't be undone. Can I at least write to Lily? Birthday cards, perhaps? The court order is clear, Richard. No contact for 5 years. And after that? That will be Lily's decision when she's old enough to make it. As I turned to leave, Richard called after me. Will you tell her about me? About who I was before all this? I paused at the door. I'll tell her the truth, Richard. All of it. 2 weeks later, Maya and I sat on my back deck, watching Lily play with her cousin Emma in the yard. How are you really doing? Maya asked. Better than expected. I smiled as Lily's laughter floated across the lawn. It's like a weight has lifted. Vanessa joined us, setting down her briefcase. Good news. The trust is officially set up. David's insurance money is now completely protected for Lily's future. Thank you for everything, I told her sincerely. Maya raised her glass. To justice. And to new beginnings, I added. As the sun set, I watched my daughter playing carefree in the yard. Safe, protected, and loved. Richard had tried to take everything from us, but in the end, his actions had only made us stronger. Mommy, look, Lily called, performing a cartwheel. I see you, baby, I called back. I'm right here. And I always would be. That was a promise no one could ever take away. Do you think you'd have handled things differently if you were in Gianna's situation? Let me know in the comments below.